A Swift Kickin' Ass, episode 62.
All big changes start with a swift kick in the ass. Join the journey of lifelong friends, John Curren and Tom Stewart, as they make conventional thought bend over and take a boot to the keister. Warning, listeners may notice a force equal to or greater than needed to get your ass moving. A swift kick in the ass, living life on your terms.
Welcome, I'm Tom Stewart. I'm joined with my lifelong childhood friend, John Curren, and today's title, Get Your Ass Off the Couch, a quick fix for complacency. Welcome to the show, John.
Thanks, Tom. You know, I have to wonder sometimes if we're not being complacent. And what I mean by that is I had to actually look up the meaning of the word because I don't think I really truly understood what the word complacent means. And what it means is that you're self-satisfied, especially when accompanied by an unawareness of actual dangers or deficiencies. It's like you're just happy with the way things are, even though there are, dangers or bad things going on around you that could hurt you. You're just self-satisfied. You're like, yeah, everything's great when it really isn't. And this episode is to get you thinking about complacency and how to avoid those dangers. I always think back about when my parents sat me down and I wasn't doing very well at school. I was home for the summer and my parents got my report card, which was very bad. I had like a 1.09 grade point average at one time, about ready to be kicked out of school. My parents sat me down and said, Johnny, you're not going to class. You're partying all the time. You're wasting our money. We love you very much, but we're not going to put up with this anymore. And you have some decisions to make. You need to either move out and start your life, get an apartment, start your life, get a job, move on, or you need to figure out how to get back, go back to school and start doing well at school, take it seriously. And, at that time, thinking back about that time in my life, I was extremely complacent. I was self-satisfied. I was happy with the way things were. I mean, who wouldn't? I'm away from home. My parents are kind of funding my debauchery, just sleeping in, not going to class, just having a really great time. And who would want to change something like that? Well, my parents did. And little did I, think of the dangers of that path that I was headed down. Just totally just went right above my head.
I think everyone at some time gets complacent. In fact, I know they do. I think it's quite common for all of us. And our show is titled "A Swift Kick in the Ass," and we get complacent, John. I know that's why we started even talking about this subject, because I was talking to you. I had caught the stomach flu last week, and it kind of, when I was in those deep feverish dreamlike visions that I was having when I was knocked out for 2 days and sitting in my bed, I kind of started having like dreams, thinking that hey, I'm not doing as much as I should be. I've changed. I had a change at work, and I've got comfortable again. And what happens is when you get comfortable, you get complacent. And I stopped working on some side projects I was doing. I stopped really putting as much effort into the podcast at the moment. I was like, I got to get my ass back moving and live what I speak. And it really is. It's so easy to fall into that comfortable zone where you're just like, yeah, well, I'm okay right now. I'm making some money. I just want to go home and watch TV. I want to sit on the couch and watch Game of Thrones. It's the new season. I want to see what happened to Jon Snow.
Yeah,
but you know what?
Have to do that, right?
Right. But whether Jon Snow lives or dies or not is not going to affect anything in your life. So sometimes you just have to get yourself out of that rut, get your ass out of the couch, and start thinking about what is important. What can I do to kind of improve myself or improve my situation? And, Everyone has faces this. So it doesn't matter whether you're trying to get fit, if you're trying to get a better position at work, if you're trying to build a better relationship with your spouse, we need to wake up.
Yeah, and just to add to what you're saying, Tom, I think a lot of us just settle. We think things are going fine, and everything's good. If you have a decent job, you might not love it, but you don't hate it, and you're making good money. So what's wrong with that? You know, and I've been there before. I've totally been there before, but you know,
It's
it,
like the settlers. There's a popular commercial running right now for between DirecTV and cable, and it's talking about the settlers. It has this family, and they're all sitting around at the dinner table, and you know what I'm talking about. And the
oh
dad's
yeah,
like,
they bring out the lollipop once
right,
a year so to have a lick off the lollipop.
off the family lolly, but it's
Yeah,
so true.
yeah, it is. And if I get some hate mail about this, I'll live with it. I'll deal with it because I think this needs to be said. It is a swift kick in the ass. Look at all of the married couples out there, okay? And I'm in that boat. So are you, Tom.
Mhm.
Look at all the different married couples, and you will see couples who have become complacent. They've let themselves go. This is especially true, I think, with men, to where they get married, they have kids, and they just give up taking care of themselves. They let the extra weight just pile on. They've got a big beer gut. They don't cut their hair. They don't take showers. you know they just sit around. And they're like, why? I've got my wife, I've got my children. uh,
And we're not exactly pointing the finger because we can point those
no,
fingers back at ourselves over
absolutely.
time. I mean, we've all been there. We've all been in that spot where you're like, I was talking to one of the guys at work, his wife is pregnant. And I said, I remember every time my wife got pregnant, I gained like 30 pounds, man. And there's no reason for that. There's no reason that I should have gained 30 pounds, but I gave in. I was like, oh, well, she's eating whatever she wants. I'm going to do the same thing. And we kind of like fueled each other. And, yeah, it's understandable she's pregnant. However, getting 30 pounds off, man, is very difficult. It took years to try to get that weight off.
Yeah, and I guess just to kind of add some rationale to that, because I went through the same thing. You think a lot about, well, my wife is gaining weight, so aren't I being a good partner by also gaining weight too? And I mean, she's I wouldn't say fat, I wouldn't say plump, I wouldn't say waddling, but don't you, it's a sympathetic response, right? You're sympathizing with them, and I know I just totally misused sympathetic response, but hopefully you get my point. you know you
I think what it is it's giving in to our true nature. Because in reality, we don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't want to be in places where, we're striving out hunting every day. We want to just kick back and relax and kind of glide through life. And I think it's natural, and I think it's natural to feel that way. But it's just a matter, you have to really look at it and say, is this all I want out of life? Is this all that I aspire to be? It reminds me of the Lion King. One of my favorite parts in the Lion King movie is when his father comes.
Mufasa!
Yeah, Mufasa comes floating out of the stars, and he's talking to Simba, and he's like, Simba, you are more than who you have become. It's like you're a king, but you're hiding out in the wilderness with a pig and a prairie dog.
Yeah, and you know s- just because people are not living up to their potential, I don't necessarily say that everyone needs to or wants to or has that ambition to live, you know, within a degree, within degrees, just a small degree of your total potential. I mean, it's okay, and it's okay to kick back every now and then. It's okay to relax, and it's okay to let yourself go. In fact, I saw an advertisement for a book. I forget what the name of it is, but it's about a physical trainer who 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 put on, I think he put on at least 30 pounds. I
On
think it was
purpose, right?
yeah, I think it was somewhere like
Yeah.
60.
I'm
And
familiar with it.
he just basically ate anything he wanted. He drank non-diet sodas. He, didn't exercise. He just sat on the couch and watched Netflix, just to purposely gain weight, so that way he could start a program and start working it and show his clients, yes, this is possible. Look at this. I put on 60 pounds and now I've taken it off. And the guy wrote a book about it. It makes a lot of sense. And it's okay, if you're complacent, but I mean, it's okay to take,
No, it isn't. Suck it up, loser.
yes, I mean, it's not okay to be complacent.
You almost have to have that little inner boot camp, the little drill instructor yelling and sitting on your shoulder all the time, yelling at yourself, to kind of get you out of that mood. And I'm not yelling at our audience. I'm saying that personally for myself because I've constantly battled with this. You get comfortable, and being comfortable leads to complacency.
Well, you know what? As I was preparing for the show, I was looking at some quotes, and I came up with a quote of my own, and that is, "Complacency is bliss." There's it's being self-satisfied, satisfied with yourself, but being unaware of the dangers that holds. Like, it's so you could be complacent if you just sat on your couch all the time. You didn't work, you didn't have a job. I mean, you're in definite danger of not only gaining weight, but you don't have an income. So, because you're sitting around all the time, there are dangers in your actions.
Well, you posted a great picture on our Facebook page, which shows like a deer licking up some water, and right next to him is like a mountain lion ready to pounce on his ass. And it's because he's being complacent. He's not paying attention. He's going to die. So if in nature you're complacent, you die. Unfortunately, we have so many walls and so many shields around us that we don't feel those external threats to us. So we don't, have our defenses up. We're not aware.
Yeah, no, and I love that meme. And check us out on our Facebook page, and you'll see that picture. It's great. The mountain lion's looking over at the deer, like, "Are you kidding me? This is an easy lunch." And the deer's just like, "Da da 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 da." I'm just totally unaware, and that is just the core, of complacency, and then putting yourself in danger by being blissfully ignorant. Or
My ex-boss is going to get complacent and be out smoking a cigarette and get attacked by a Florida panther because we found Florida panthers at our transmitter site. We found a mother with two cubs, meaning there's a papa around somewhere too. So that's pretty wild because it's like in the middle of the suburbs. It's not like it's close to the Everglades, and it might have been the Everglades at one time, but it's so much is built around, and our transmitter site has 150 acres of undeveloped land. So there's plenty of room for some panthers, and I've seen deer out there. It's just made me chuckle for a second when you said that.
yeah, and aren't I hope this doesn't take us too far off track, but aren't the Florida panther, they were near extinction. I
Yes,
don't know if they are anymore.
I think they still are. I mean, at one time, I think there was down to like 60 of them, no lie. So, I think they've boosted above that, but they're still close to extinction.
Well, that would be, I mean, mountain Florida panthers need to eat. So,
Yeah, so eat my old boss.
okay, we're going to hell for that one. Um, so, think about your life, and about if you're settling or not. What do you really want out of life, and are you getting it? And if you're not getting it, are you the one that's holding yourself back and telling yourself that it's okay? I know that going all those years back when my parents sat me down and had that, that pivotal moment in my life that said, you need to get off your ass and make a choice about school. Um, Going through that experience taught me about complacency and about the importance of not being complacent, not just settling for the way things are, but always focusing on what you want, on your goals, and getting everything that you can out of life. Yeah, every time that you do that, it becomes a little bit easier to see for yourself. Um, Before I met my wife, I know if you're a fan of the show, you've heard my story about how I was almost married, and I got to about 2.5 weeks before the wedding, and I called off the wedding. And a lot of people, I remember back at that time, a lot of people said, man, you've got big kahunas to do that. You've got brass balls. And a lot of people would just go through with the wedding, even if they knew it wasn't right. I couldn't do that. I could not settle that way. And I know that the danger was that if we would have gotten married, one of us would be dead and the other one would be in jail, or at least on the run.
Or
Um,
on 2020 or Dateline
yeah.
exclusive.
So I don't know which one of us would have been in jail or dead or whatever, but that's besides the point. Uh, that was something I couldn't settle on, and I knew, I recognized the dangers, and I really think that it's because of my other life experiences to say, you know what, this is not right. And whether you're telling yourself that it's right or it's wrong, um, that in and of itself is an opinion. That what's right and what's wrong, that's for you really to decide. And if you think it's wrong and you can keep on continuing down that path, then you need to own that decision. And that was not something I could live with. And it becomes easier and easier to not settle once you get the experience of doing that. I remember back when I called off that wedding, uh, it was like a light switch went off, and I was just like, okay, that's that. I know exactly what I need to do, and I did it. And you know, um, I,
You know,
I think I think
we
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 all
were
face that.
we were talking about several instances where we've all experienced a swift kick in the ass, and this might not happen to everyone, but I think they're quite common. And yesterday, I was pointing out 3 points to John that and this can happen when you're complacent. The first one is like leaving home when you're finally, graduate high school or college and you're out on your own, or maybe before. Some people don't get the luxury to even stay through all of high school. That something happens, or they get kicked out of their house, or parent dies, or what have you. The next one related to that is when you lose someone, when you lose a parent or a guardian or someone
Yeah,
important to
someone
you,
close to you.
someone close, maybe a sibling, something that pushes you and wakes you up and makes you go, man, life is really short, and we have to seize the moment and do everything we possibly can. Unfortunately, all these things wear off. The next one that really got me was and was because I was being complacent, and not reason I lost my job. I had lost my job at one time, and it was a layoff, and it wasn't due on performance or what have you, but I was complacent. I had not really, pushed myself to learn anymore at the moment. I wasn't trying to further myself. And then I found myself without a job and trying to find work. And that's not an easy thing. And it's a swift kick in the ass. It gets you up out of your chair and just, I need to provide for my family. And now I can't be complacent anymore, man. I'm out in the wild. Now I'm that deer ready to be pounced on by the cougar or mountain lion next to me.
I think you're still that deer, but you're awake. You're looking around. You're cautious, and
I have antlers now.
you do have antlers. Uh, and that, I think, it takes time to develop those skills, and it takes experience. We're not always going to make the right decisions, but in making those decisions and not settling for what you really want, not just settling for what you get, but really going for what you want, you learn through those experiences by what comes out of the decision. I also too went through a similar situation to where my position was eliminated. It has nothing to do with performance, um, and I recognized at that time that it was part of my life. I was going to keep on breathing. My life did not begin nor did it end with that job, and it was going to be okay. and I could move on. In fact, as you know, I'm in the last 6 months of this 10-year long financial plan that my wife and I have been on. We've been, very diligent and persevering towards this plan. But Murphy's Law is now starting to kick in. Whereas, my wife's van, it needed, tires, and it needed brakes and rotors, and we had this expense and that expense. And it's enough, when life starts throwing you all these curveballs, it's really easy to get down, and think of yourself as being beaten, or just saying, settling and just saying, oh well, you know what, this is the way it is. But
Sucks to be you, Charlie Brown.
yeah, it doesn't have to be that way. And I think that, now as I'm going through this, it's much different than when life was throwing all these curveballs at me when we were just starting that plan. I recognize that I'm going to live to fight another day. We are going to make this plan. We're going to come to the end of it in November, and that we have to get to that point, and
John,
we will get to it.
it's part of the human condition. I was just joking about Charlie Brown, but think about it. People, we have comics kind of as a reflection of our real life. And you can think of the Sunday Funnies, you can think of Charlie Brown, Born Loser, Ziggy. Maybe I'm dating myself with some of the characters, but they were all guys that things that's bad happened to.
Yeah,
you know
Lucy would, pull the football out from under Charlie Brown. Come on, Charlie Brown, I'm not going to do that. And then what does she do? She does it. It's but Charlie Brown perseveres.
Right.
You know,
But it's just life. But I was saying that, life happens. Life gets,
yeah.
is always going to be there to pound you down. But we're going to have our, that's part of growing up and being, a man or a woman. I tell my wife sometimes that, and it's gone by. I mean, my children are starting to grow up, but when you first get married and you have kids, there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of stress on the relationship because, one person feels the other one might be doing more than the other, and the kid is keeping you up. You're not getting sleep. You have money issues. I mean, all kinds of things that can come your way. But those are the moments. That's your life. That's your time that you're going to look back and look back and cherish. And I was talking to one of the guys at work. His wife is pregnant for the second time. He has a 2-year-old, and he has another one on the way in another month. And I could hear the stress going on between him and his wife. And I told him, I said, hey, look, man, it will pass, all these times, but you're going to cherish that moment. So you're going to cherish that time. So it's just life, and life will continue to get you down. But if you become Ziggy and say, oh, that's just the way it is, if my toaster breaks, it must be because the warranty expired, and I'm Ziggy. I just have bad luck. I have a black cloud following me. It's this life. It's everyone. And it's just a matter, you can't be complacent, because then you'll start letting that permeate you. Depression will sink in, and you'll never want to get off the couch, man.
One of the things that can cause complacency, I think, is expecting what worked for you before to continue to work. When I look back at the beginning days of our financial plan, and everything in my house was starting to break, and my daughter was, catching the microwave on fire because she put a Pop-Tart package in the microwave and caught it on fire.
Nice.
That was very stressful. But the reason it was stressful is because I didn't have money to throw at the problems. I couldn't just go out and buy a new microwave. I couldn't just go out and buy a new refrigerator. I couldn't, I didn't have the money to throw at the problems. And that's how I was used to solving the problems. And in fact, that's how I got into that situation to begin with. So I had to learn new ways to problem solve, and I did. And yes, those times were terrible. They were stressful. They were painful lessons to learn. But as I look back on it, it was also one of the best times in my life, because of what I learned and what I was able to apply to it. And even to this day, we're near the end of our plan, and Murphy's law is starting to hit again where things are going wrong, I know that I'm going to make it through. And I know that from the lessons that I've learned, I'm, in the past, I'm able to apply that. And I know we'll get through it. And I know you can too. Uh, it just takes experience. It takes trying. It takes a willingness to learn and to do what you need to do. Uh,
Here's another way to look at complacency too, John, is a lot of times it's because of success, because you've made it somewhere. Maybe have a nice house and, a nice car, you got a family, everything's happy. And then is when you get comfortable, right?
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, Tom, both you and I have been there before. In fact, that was one of the drivers that got us to start this show, is that we both had corporate jobs. We're doing okay money wise. You can always do better, and who doesn't like money? But our jobs weren't really fulfilling, and we were just kind of going through the paces. But we needed some type of creative outlet. We needed some way to to apply ourselves and use our skills and our creativity. And out of that was born a swift kick in the ass.
It's a way to give back too. I mean,
Yeah.
we're trying our best to help others that are going through similar situations. Sometimes you don't have to be an expert. John and I aren't psychologists, but we've had a lot of life experience. And sometimes that person that just has a little bit further. Just when I was talking about the guy at work, I'm 10 or 15 years his senior, and I've gone through it. And I know what he's going through right now with his wife. I understand what he's going through with his wife.
Right.
I might not have the same exact situation, but I understand the frustration, and I've been there. And it's the same way. We're just trying to help. We're just trying to get something out. John, sometimes remember when you were dating and you would get complacent then. You would lock in, and it is so common in relationships. You meet your boyfriend or girlfriend, you guys start dating, and then you get comfortable with each other, and then you start not going to the gym as much. You start not taking them out, and you stop showing the affection as much. You stop telling them, how awesome they look or whatever it is. And then something happens and someone leaves or finds someone else who, once someone else pays that person attention, you lose them. It's so common. And that is a form of complacency, but it's also a form of success because you kind of like locked it in. It's like, yeah, I got the relationship. Now I can let go. Now I'm happy.
Yeah, I think though the worst case of that is of the worst case of complacency in that situation is where you found that person, that person isn't right for you. Maybe you don't love him or her, but you stay with them anyway. That is settling. You want something better. You want something different, but you become complacent because you're willing to just stay in that situation. And maybe,
That's
maybe,
bad. That's bad for both people too.
yes.
It's because it's unfair to the person that thinks you love them and you don't really love them, man. That's horrible.
Yeah.
You know,
Or children. If children become involved, then that really can mess up people's lives.
that's that old thinking too. Because my mom says to me sometimes, I've heard her say that, you know, oh well, you can about love almost anyone. It's like, well, yeah, maybe, but it's should be a little bit more. You should have a little something there, not just love someone just because they're there.
Well, isn't this the same mother that listens to Metallica and is advocating for medical marijuana?
It's the same mom, and she didn't grow up as a hippie. She
I
was
love your
very,
mom, and
very traditional, old school.
I just get, um, and I guess going back to that definition of complacency, uh, if you're ignorant, simply not knowing something, it happens to all of us. I mean, and what we're trying to tell you is think about the situation you're in. Um, think about possible dangers and risks that you're taking by continuing on down this path. When I was in college and I was, kind of failing out of college by not going to class and just kind of partying all the time and in enjoying life, I wasn't thinking about the dangers. I was not thinking about, well, shoot, if I continue on down this path, I'm not going to graduate college. And if I don't graduate college, I guess worse things could happen. But for what I wanted out of life, I felt that I needed that. And I did. I did need that. And I did make it through. In fact, I turned it around and even graduated on the presidential honor roll. It can be done. I mean, I turned the situation around because I recognized, hey, you know what? This is the way I'm living right now. It can't continue. And that's what that swift kick in the ass did for me. It opened my eyes. So be aware of your situation. That's one of the tips here to avoid complacency. And don't be that deer that's just drinking water out of the stream, enjoying the nice warm weather when there's a mountain lion sitting next to you licking its chops, because you're not going to be enjoying that water and that nice cold drink very much longer if that mountain lion eats you. And life has a tendency to do that.
All right, man. I think that's about wraps it up. I think that the main thing, set a new goal, right, John? Just to think or wake up, think about your situation and try to make a change. We promised a quick fix. John gave you several tips on how to make some of those changes, So
Yeah.
keep your purpose clear, set a new goal and do something different, man, or pursue something old. Just get off the couch.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, there's nothing wrong with sitting on the couch if that's what you really want out of life. But I guess what we're saying is question, what ask yourself, what do you really want out of life, and determine if you're getting it. Sometimes I think you might even find that you might be kind of knocking yourself down, because you think that you're not reaching your goals, but you are. There was a poster I used to have. A friend of mine gave it to me. It had this picture of a really nice Spanish villa, like a mansion on the ocean, with a big 3 or 4 car garage, and parked within that garage were a Ferrari and a Porsche and all these sports cars. And the caption read, justification for higher education. And here I was, in school, and I'm like kind of kicking myself because I didn't have that house on the hill. I didn't have the sports cars. I didn't have that. My life did not meet that picture. But as I thought about it, the more I realized how close, how I really did have that. I didn't have the house on the hill, but I had a nice house. I had toys. I had a wife and children and other things that really make me happy and really fit my picture of reality and my picture of life. And I stopped being so hard on myself after that time, because I had a lot more than most people, and I was living my dream and I didn't even recognize it. So, just give you something to think about, and then take action on it if you think that you're settling, because there's no reason to settle. Life's too short.
Always keep moving, man. If that deer keeps on running, he'll be faster than the mountain lion, ready to jump on him, and put his fangs in his neck.
Zombie deer. So I have a couple of quotes I think it would be good to
Okay.
do this time. Great things never came from being happy in your comfort zone, and the desire to change must be greater than your willingness to accept. So until next time, John Curren, kick in the ass.
Tom Stewart.
Friend.
Thank you for listening. Peace.
Peace.